southernmost part of Africa is often compared with the Garden of Eden. It also contains the legendary Garden Route. "500 kilometers from Cape Town, the surroundings of Knysna have for many years been the main tourist center of this unique region. A breathtaking coastline, picturesque rivers and untouched forests give this magnificent area its unique and unforgettable charm. Slightly inland is the idyllic and protected Wilderness Lakes area. It comprises 5 rivers and 6 large lakes. The area is perfect for those who seek tranquility, remoteness, and pure nature. However, the river and lakeland area is well appointed and has good access. Due to the beauty of this region, it's hardly surprising that the Wilderness Lakes area has for many years been a popular tourist destination. The Wilderness National Park begins just outside the village of Wilderness, west of Knysna. Because of its 2,600 hectares, the park has become an important refuge for many varieties of bird that are threatened by extinction. Located between the Indian Ocean and the Outeniqua Mountains, it's an ideal refuge for 250 different kinds of birds and small animals. The 150-kilometer long and 1,500-meter high mountain range is indirectly responsible for the dense vegetation of this area. In the coastal area, the clouds generated by the ocean are hemmed in by the Outeniqua Mountains, so a good supply of rainfall is guaranteed throughout the year. Another natural feature of the Wilderness National Park is its vast swamplands with their numerous ponds and bogs. Bogs and fens are an ideal habitat for more than 90 different kinds of South African waterfowl. As motorboats are forbidden on most of this region's lakes and rivers, several rare species of wildlife have settled here. The many water plants of Wilderness Lakes provide both food and shelter for fish and birds. Even migratory birds from faraway regions such as Siberia, Europe and even Greenland winter here in the extreme south of the African continent. In addition, the local inhabitants of Wilderness Park also profit from the increasing tourism of this region. The gulls announce the proximity of the Indian Ocean. Knysna Bay is famous for its unique rocks. Sheltered by these mighty and impressive rocks is an enchanting lagoon that is popular with local sailing enthusiasts and tourists alike. Those who come here venture onto the rocks as they provide a magnificent view of Neisner Bay. The rock just to the east attracts a good number of walkers. Various paths travel alongside the wild surf of the Indian Ocean. Visiting this particular area is only possible during calm weather. When the sea is rough, this part of the bay can be extremely treacherous. Neisner boasts many sights. Here, both entertainment and the protection of nature go hand in hand. There are several beautiful landscapes here. In spite of the increasing popularity of this coastal region, it's still possible to find remote areas amid its sandstone rocks. On closer inspection, it soon becomes clear that the rocky cliffs on the shoreline are also an important habitat for the local plant life. But from a distance, it's the rocks that are the most striking sight. For millions of years, they have withstood the relentless power of the elements. The rugged cliffs of South Africa's coastline have always posed a serious threat to seafarers. The various captains of the Neisner waterfront ferries are well aware of the dangers of this coastline, so those who travel on the ferries here are in safe hands. Good to know, as some of the most beautiful areas can only be accessed by boat. Sailing boats such as this catamaran are part of the waterfront ferries fleet. Entry to Neisner's picturesque lagoon could hardly be more perfect. In the heart of the bay are Thiessen Island and Leisure Isle. Today both islands are inhabited and are Neisner's most expensive residential areas. Of course, animals live here too. Birds are to be found everywhere, in the lagoon and on both islands. The birds don't appear to be fazed by the presence of man, as they fearlessly go about searching for food. Most of the creatures that live here are well suited to the near-perfect natural habitat provided by this region. The extraordinary beauty of Neisner Bay has many vantage points. The 18 square kilometre lagoon looks like a fantastic lake. The bay's most striking landmark is two mountains that rise up from the sea, the Heads of Neisner. They look like two gigantic stone heads. They're the gateway into the lagoon. Between the rocks, there's a view of the open sea, once feared by seafarers from all over the world. The numerous lighthouses along South Africa's rocky coastline indicate just how dangerous it is for shipping. The heads of Knysna are responsible for the fact that over millions of years a biotope was gradually created here that is unique throughout South Africa. In this coastal area, there is much vegetation and sclerophyllous plants. These rich natural treasures would alone be good enough reason to visit the Knysna region. Ornithologists are attracted here each year due to the large variety of birds. For the ornithologist, it's a veritable paradise. In addition to the striking flora on land, the water plants are also extremely diverse. Several rare species of fish also add to the ecological importance of this bay. The shallow water of the lagoon is full of nutrients. So there's an ample supply of food for all the water birds that have settled here. Although Knysna Bay is not an official nature reserve, the preservation of this unique area is assured by several strict laws. Gourmets are also attracted by this charming garden route town due to the high quality of the oysters that are farmed here. Knysna Bay provides nourishment for both wildlife and man, and its swamplands remain unspoiled. All this natural beauty is quite overwhelming, especially when the fresh sea breeze blows gently across the colourful vegetation of the magnificent landscape. The Knysna region is ideal for those who want to do nothing more than to relax. The bicycle is just one way to explore this coastal region. Most of the time, the bay is calm and therefore ideal for boat trips. Here, few people have their own boat. Despite the amount of water traffic, the lagoon is calm and tranquil. Here, man and nature live side by side. Knysna was founded in 1804 by an Englishman, George Rex, who was the first to have an estate built here. There are many theories surrounding the life of George Rex, one being that he was the illegitimate son of King George III. Much has changed since the 19th century. This former family estate has now been transformed into a town that contains one of the most beautiful and expensive residential areas in the entire world. Knysna is also popular with railway enthusiasts who can enjoy the delights of its steam trains. The steam engine in Knysna station fascinates one and all. It's a reminder of bygone times. This historic train, the Chu Tio, shuttles several times a day between Knysna and the town of George that is 67 kilometers away. The steam engines are still powered by coal and originate mostly from the South African construction numbers 19D and 24. Each September, a steam festival attracts railway enthusiasts from all over the world. They meet in George. Some of the trains are extremely rare. The oldest steam engines that are featured during the festival date back to the 19th century. These mighty monsters of steel and iron in Georgia's Outeniqua Railway Museum have lost nothing of their former glory. As in former times, the steam engine is operated manually by a team of two. Here, the history of the railroad is lovingly preserved, as though time has stood still at the beginning of the 20th century. The collection of steam engines in the Mission Street Museum is most impressive. Locomotives, wagons and carriages packed into an area of 25,000 square meters chart the various epochs of South Africa's railroads. The Outeniqua Railway Museum has become the main attraction in George. Preservation of the old engines has helped the town to prosper. This entire region has profited from the popularity of the museum. No effort or expense has been spared to preserve this heritage. The history of the South African Railroad began in 1859 when the first steam engine arrived in Cape Town. The first railroad connection followed soon after. In 1860, the section between Point and Durban was inaugurated. The railroad was also important to the people who lived along its route. The timber industry depended on an efficient transport system. With the onset of modern times and the exciting new railroad, George enjoyed much prosperity at the end of the 19th century. The landscape on the section between George and Knysna is one of the finest in South Africa. The long railway bridge that spans the lagoon is a famous architectural landmark of this region. After 2.5 hours, the trains of the Outeniqua-Tshutjo arrive at the destination of this nostalgic journey, Knysna Station. In Knysna, it's possible to continue the journey by way of the many excursion boats and ferries that, when the weather is good, travel to the heads and various islands. A round trip by boat is a must for all who visit Knysna. As in many areas, the full splendour of nature can only be seen from the water. Here, a paddle steamer is the main attraction. There are many ways in which to discover the lagoon. For this region's mostly wealthy inhabitants, this naturally sheltered bay is ideal for various leisure time pursuits. Here at the Central Yacht Harbour, luxurious residences and a large number of elegant villas highlight the wealth of Knysna's inhabitants. Information relating to the bay is provided on each boat trip. Everything is well organised. The town's small yacht harbour features buildings both old and new. On board the pleasure boat, passengers take advantage of a relaxing drink. The two islands are a popular meeting place for some of South Africa's most prosperous businessmen. Their success is indicated by their fine villas. It's quite a sight, and what a wonderful setting in which to live. With a perfect view across Knysna Lagoon, some have indeed fulfilled their wildest dreams. Plus the advantage of fishing from the front door. The villas are quite spectacular. However, the natural beauty of the bay is even more breathtaking. After having taken a closer look at this elite residential area, the boat comes to a halt. Now we can explore on foot. There's a tiny train. The Western Head area is part of the Featherbed Nature Reserve that is open to the public. Pulled by a truck, the train makes it a little easier to reach the eastern side of the Heads. The train journey provides amazing views across Neisner Bay and the narrow and precarious entrance to the open sea. The passengers enjoy their journey on the small train. It's a good place to observe the lagoon. The vegetation is also worth a closer look, lush and exotic. As the route becomes steeper, the train gradually slows down. In some sections of the Featherbed Nature Reserve, the train has a real struggle. Cacti are commonplace, although the heavy rainfall of this region isn't ideal for these thrifty plants. The nature reserve is a World Heritage Site. The view of the lagoon below becomes even more captivating. Eventually, the train makes its first stop. Close by, there's a special vantage point. The view across the Neisner Heads is awesome. Only a bird could have a better one. There's not only a fantastic view of the landscape, the villas can also be seen. As the journey continues, there are further views of the ocean, cliffs, and the picturesque landscape. At the end of the small road, the descent begins. We approach the coast once again and the natural power of the Indian Ocean. Winding paths lead us downhill. In order to protect the environment here, visits to the Western Head are only possible with an organized tour. So there are specially designated paths for those who come to the Featherbed Nature Reserve. During the slow descent, there are more and more vantage points from which to take in the fabulous scenery. The powerful surf of the South African coastline is also a wonderful sight, and it also attracts many surfers. Only the most experienced surfers dare venture into the area between each of Neisner's heads that are surrounded by high cliffs. The view from the dizzy heights at the sandstone rocks, cliffs and ocean is an exhilarating experience. From here, it's easy to see how so many ships have been wrecked on this coastline. While the visitors to the Featherbed Nature Reserve continue to walk down the hill, they are once again treated to the sight of the abundant vegetation that grows here. In some sections the path is quite tricky, but any hazards are soon overcome. And it's really worth persevering. We are rewarded by even more splendid views. The visitors to the western heads of Neissner are all well satisfied with what they've seen. For the large cargo ships that travelled into Neissner's harbour at the beginning of the 20th century, the heads posed a dangerous threat. Indeed, there are still a number of shipwrecks lying on the seabed at the entrance to the bay. However, the arrival of the railroad brought an end to the commercial life of the harbour, which had mainly been used for the transport of timber. The treacherous entrance to the lagoon was much feared by seafarers. The Paquita met its end on this coastline. A German ship had ran ashore on the 19th of October 1903 and sank shortly afterwards. Today, travelling by the heads has become far easier due to modern technology and the use of motorboats. And the view into the abyss below is still a fascinating sight. However, it still pays not to underestimate the dangers of the Neissner heads. The powerful surf is more than capable of forcing small boats onto the rocks. That's why the heads are one of the few places on Earth for which no company offers marine insurance. Entrance to the lagoon is entirely at your own risk. The tropical vegetation here is fascinating. Splendid cacti grow as well here at the coast as in Neissner's inland areas. Due to the large variety of sites here, it's easy to understand why this region of South Africa has in recent years become so popular. The view takes in the tempestuous waves of the Indian Ocean that beat against the almost vertical sandstone cliffs. A natural spectacle that happens relentlessly both day and night. Neissner also caters for those who enjoy active and adventurous holidays. Abseiling by rope from a great height is particularly popular in these parts. The coastal area close to the Neissner Heads has for millions of years been shaped by the Indian Ocean. And in some places, narrow chasms have appeared. The powerful forces of erosion caused by the sea are still evident along South Africa's rocky coastline. The shape of the sandstone is subject to constant change. In the water just a few meters from the coast are several old shipwrecks, including the famous Paquita. The presence of so many water birds highlights the fact that the waters off Neisner contain an abundance of fish. The return journey to the bay on the 2-kilometer-long Bushbuck Trail contains further vantage points. The final view across this region's striking landmark. Next, we arrive at the base of the mighty rocks. The sight of the 100-meter-high rock walls and the visit to this unique nature reserve have been a rewarding experience. Almost the entire coast of South Africa is a treasure trove of vegetation, with its great variety of sclerophyllous plants and richly coloured seed plants. The almost park-like gardens of some of the villas in Neisner's lagoon are often enthusiastically referred to as tropical paradises. The magnificence of the blossoms is truly overwhelming. They're in splendid contrast to the nearby ocean. Each year, the large variety of South Africa's plants attracts numerous botanists, particularly in the region around the Cape. One of the few visible signs of the existence of man in this section of the Heads at the Featherbed Nature Reserve is to be found at the end of a pathway. Various pleasure boats return to the naturally sheltered part of the bay. In recent years, several millionaires have come to live here. The various ferries and pleasure boats of Neisner Bay are never short of passengers. Everyone travels by boat. There are several trips on offer, from small pleasure boats to exclusive yachts. But each boat has the same destination, the Neisner Heads. The high rock cliffs serve not only as the entrance to the open sea, they are also a prominent landmark. The waters of the bay are home to a creature that is quite inconspicuous and also relatively rare. The seahorse, the Hipcampus capensis, lives here in one of its few habitats in the world. Twice a day, the waters of the Indian Ocean flow into the lagoon and combine with the fresh waters of the rivers. In addition to holidaymakers, an increasing number of amateur sports fishermen also come here. The owners of the many magnificent villas in Neisner Bay have fine panoramic views. And on board, there's also a glass or two of wine. This is certainly a place of calm and relaxation, a captivating way in which to escape from everyday life and enjoy the splendor of the lagoon. In the light of the setting sun, the landscape round Neisner is particularly special. The view of the bay as night falls leaves an indelible impression on the minds of all who come here. Most of the boats have now returned to the shelter of the harbour, while beyond the heads the open sea continues to surge. The newly built waterfront has completely transformed the entire area of Neisner's former industrial harbour. Those who have experienced the atmosphere of the harbour can understand why so many wealthy South Africans have retired in this area. Those who own a property here have well and truly made it. Their boats are moored just outside their front doors within the sheltered lagoon. And the close proximity of the Indian Ocean makes this place a truly special place to live. As the sun sinks below the horizon, Neisner Bay shines out one last time in all of its majestic glory. After having experienced the many wonderful natural sights of this magnificent region, it's easy to understand why so many refer to it as the Garden of Eden. Because like paradise, there is no finer garden than that of South Africa's Neisner.